Hey everybody, it's Dr. Dana Martin, your host on the Sith Dominion podcast, and welcome back Cam, and welcome back Zane. How have you guys been? Cam, how was your last couple weeks while we were away?
It's been great. I've been trying to 100% the Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor. Finished Fallen Order on Friday, got the Platinum Trophy. Now I'm starting Survivor and reading the book that's set in between them. So,
why didn't I know this? I'm out of the loop. There's a book about Cal and company searching out the other Jedi.
It's just called Battle Scars. Oh, where's the thing?
Got you.
So it's all right. It's cool.
Have you read it, Zane?
Nope.
Nope. Zane, what have you been doing the last couple weeks?
Well, I joined another Overwatch team.
Yeah.
We went on to defeat, this last week we went and we beat the number one team in that league, in that division. They were undefeated. No one got a map off of them, and we were able to beat them. It was 3-2.
In 5.
Dang.
Yeah, it was intense too, man. I'm shouting at my TV, watching it on Twitch, just yelling, and then I'm like, "Holy crap! I'm watching my son on TV, like on the TV. Like I'm an old person. He was on the news. Like, it was this real surreal moment.
Proud dad moment for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've got a bunch, and if you follow me on Facebook, some pop up from my history about when he was, a young lad, and things that he would do to his sister. It was amazing. So I'm back. We were supposed to have a show last week, and after I got off the boat, we were on a cruise, my wife and I, for our 10th anniversary. It was wonderful. We met some great people, but just like a petri dish, so too. A cruise, you got to be careful. So I got a little sick whenever I got off the boat. Got a little case of the flu or something. I managed. You'll hear me cough, but I'm good. So we didn't have it last week, but man, what a great time, and amazing. Like I said, Zane, getting to check you out on this new squad. So there, something huge happened. So we kind of rewrote the script a little bit for the show tonight. Dave Filoni. Let's just talk about it. I mean, Dave Filoni. So I'm assuming, Zane, I know Cam and I have chatted a little bit about it already. Have you seen the news or know what's going on?
Just read up on it.
Cam, tell me your thoughts just when you saw that headline. What your initial kind of take was before reading into it?
I mean, it was almost a take of like about time. I feel like. I mean, I was talking to my buddies before I got on in Discord. I was like, man, I feel like it might be a little too late for some fans. I'm interested to see what. I know you had mentioned earlier when we were talking, like, what all is he actually going to be able to do? Because he still has to answer to Kathleen Kennedy, who at the time when Lucas sold it was the obvious heir apparent, I think, at the time to take Lucasfilm. And we can eventually get all into what she's done. But I think it's good. I think for him, he kind of has the same take. I mean, he learned under George and those type of things, and I think that he has a certain level of respect to the original 6 films, stuff that he worked on with George in between the films, and I think overall just respecting what came before, and I feel like Mandalorian kind of did that season 1. Force Awakens was kind of a redo of New Hope. And but lately we haven't really got a lot of respect to what it came before. So I think Dave will do a good job, and I hope he does a great job. But I think he'll do a good job if he's given given the reins. So.
Given the reins. So and I that whole Freddie Prinze Jr. losing his mind spiel. I know we've all seen it a million times. It's just hilarious. But he brings up a great point. Like, I learned from Filoni, who learned directly from George. And if if Filoni, he's not the guy that's going to take it like Abrams and rework it a little to his styling. He's going to keep it as true, I believe, and he has shown this, as true to the main vein as possible. Zane, what's your take?
It's very similar. Mostly, of course, this was bound to happen. Filoni is, among Star Wars fans, one of the most respected people. And it's clearly shown through what he's dipped his toes in. I mean, mostly everything was really good. And I think it gives us another chance. I know it says he'll be working pretty closely with Kathleen Kennedy now. So, I mean, she'll still have the final say. But, I mean, that means that he's working now more towards the inception of projects. So now it's not just, this is what the main idea is, now Filoni take away. It's not going to be Filoni there being like, yes, this kind of makes sense, but this kind of a show really wouldn't fit within the grand scheme of Star Wars right now. Mm-hmm. So I think it honestly, it makes sense that he's finally getting a promotion, and it leads me to wanting more.
It reminds me though of The Office, man. Look, because at the end of the day, Kathleen Kennedy is still in charge, and when you if you follow Geek News Now on Facebook, you would have seen that meme floating around. Assistant to the regional manager, because that's what it kind of feels like. Okay, we'll give you another title, but what really does that do for you? And I think as all of the details kind of unfold from this, we'll maybe see a little more of that. But I'd like to kind of open it up to discuss some of the things that could potentially happen. When we look at his, if he's given the reins, do you feel there will be either a rework of sequels in some form or fashion, or B, a continuation afterwards? Because I believe the Rey project is shelved for the moment.
Probably the smartest decision they could make, honestly. I just don't. And I'm gonna preface this. It has nothing to do with Daisy Ridley. It has nothing to do with the actress. I think she was probably the perfect pick from an actress perspective. But like, it's just, I don't understand how, from a business perspective, you're gonna throw a Rey movie out there and expect it to make money, because of the current sequel kind of vibe that the fan base has, for good or worse. And I also don't really know kind of what there is going to be. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like who's going to be the villain? And I don't think that they're going to allow Rey to receive the kind of character growth that I feel like her character should have gone through in the first 3 films. Because I mean, if she was able to just do what she was able to do in the sequels, I mean, who is going to be able to kind of stop Rey? I think it'll be a rework. I think I would like to see a Ben Solo animated show, possibly filling in his time as a Jedi, because I mean, I think I've said this before. I think The Rise of Skywalker is the worst film of the sequels. I think it's just an abomination of a project, quite frankly. And I didn't really like The Last Jedi because of Luke. I mean, I'm a Luke fanboy. And I've read up. I know it was kind of George's intention with his sequels for Luke to kind of go through the same character journey, whether I agree with even that or not. I would like to see at least Luke's Jedi Order succeed in a way, because that's what I'm reading currently in Legends right now. So it would just be nice to see that, even if it's an animated project. And I told Josiah, who's in the chat earlier, like, I would prefer Star Wars to go back to live action, seeing it in a movie theater, and any external project be just honestly animated on Disney Plus, and kind of put it that way. Personally.
Yeah, I could imagine like the first Clone Wars, the mini series. Yeah, the very first Clone Wars mini series. That sort of animation of just whoa, like I can see Ben Solo. He was a great swordsman. Like whatever. I fanboyed over him too many times.
Maybe he's your guy.
Do what?
Maybe he's your guy.
Maybe he is my. He's becoming my guy. So I may have gotten a gift on my what you call it? It's a big watch face thing, but I can't make it turn because I don't even know how to make it. But it's Kylo Ren's face, man. Like it's his mask on the front of this thing, and it's pretty sick. And I couldn't believe I actually wanted it.
Best sequels character by a mile.
Man, to your point earlier about Rey, they did not develop her. Like the fact that in that, yes, Rise of Skywalker was terrible, but there are moments in that film that I've referenced and even done a series and TikToks about that. It was like it was about Ben Solo. It really wasn't about Rey, and that's a shame because she is a very talented actress, and they missed the mark. Zane, what do you expect to see, or what would you like to see from Filoni, knowing what you know of the Grand Wizard?
Honestly,
or no, I don't think I can say. That's not what I mean. He's like the best guy. Dave Filoni is yes.
Yeah, we get it. Honestly, I think before we can see anything like extending past the sequels, I think honestly what would be amazing is if they use the momentum they got from Ahsoka and made a full trilogy out of Heir to the Empire, where Thrawn is back.
So picking up from Ahsoka and then doing another trilogy. In between,
either picking up from Ahsoka or in some way including the events of Ahsoka and that kind of stuff to where you don't have to watch the series to know the movie. But I want to see something with Thrawn in it, or at least something that bridges the gap, because there's I don't know exactly the time. There's like 30 years in between the OT and sequels. And that's a lot of time for movies, saying that the original trilogy took only a few years. It was only a few years.
5, I think. 4 or 5.
In total. So I think there's still a lot of content there to be worked with while they formulate a better plan. I think the sequels, with how touchy they are, I really don't think you should patchwork them. I believe that the sequels ended everything okay. It was like, okay, this is finally putting to rest what happened. It's the first time I've never been left with wanting more, like wanting to know what happened after from a series, which is weird. But I honestly think if they really wanted to do more, it would be more reaching towards the past now. I think they've done the sequels and it worked out okay, but I think there's so much content that could be made just strictly talking past that wouldn't affect anything else in the future.
So you could still have Skywalkers, right? You can still have Luke, like we do with Grogu, training Grogu, like making an appearance, right? But there was a lot that happened with Octo when he went there. Like, could we have something on that as a series showing his building? I'm with you, Cam, with how they treated Luke. I did not like that at all. That wasn't the Luke I thought I was gonna get in that age range of who Luke Skywalker was. And a lot of that, to my detriment, I read all the stuff before it was taken over, and that was some amazingly written stuff. And we'll talk a little bit about that later in Darth Krayt too, because that's expanded universe and it's amazing. But yeah, I'm with you guys both. I think in both of those kind of projects would be beneficial, not to just us fans, but it would fill some gaps and be able to maybe retcon some things here and there that aren't quite right with continuity. But yeah, it's great. That's it. Yes, from amazing Luke to what? Why did he? Yeah, I'm assuming, Cam, that was a huge disappointment when he got on screen and he just tossed the freaking lightsaber. I mean,
doesn't even ask how she has it. Just no questions. Just throws it off a cliff. I was just like, from that, and then Leia flying through space. That's just
Leia Poppins.
Oh, that movie is just still better than Rise of Skywalker, sadly, but it's the sequels always felt like 10, 11, 12, so kind of like Zane's point, like if they just don't do anything after it, like it's perfectly fine,
Mhm.
because it just feels like there's so much time and so much gap between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens, and I honestly feel like if they do something with Thrawn, I'm game for it, but they have got to recast the original three. You already got, one for sure, and then Donald Glover would probably come back as Lando.
Mhm.
He was a
we
good Lando.
we can't have these CGI monstrosities that
Agreed.
and the guys that played Luke in Book of Boba Fett kind of look like him. You know what I mean? And
Just get
because-
Sebastian Stan already. I mean,
Oh my! if they want to get people back in seats,
he's under contract with Disney. That's all I'm saying. Come on.
They've got to do something, and I feel like Dave's honestly he respects the canon, but he has no problem retconning. I know at least book wise certain things. So he's just gonna go in there and whatever. I think he said whatever's in the movies George always considered canon. You know what I mean? And but he's the best. He's the best we got. Him or Favreau, I guess. But
Favreau was
I think
good.
I think Favreau's got so much bad blood with Disney with
Yeah.
how he said they treat creators and creativity and just in general. So I don't really think that they'd really kind of let him be in a big role. Honestly,
Yeah, no.
yeah, I feel like they got to get Sam Witwer in there somewhere as an advisor. That dude's a wizard when it comes to canon, and I feel like it wouldn't hurt having him in some sort of advisory role. They got to get people in there that care. You know what I mean? That's the biggest thing, and that's the big thing with Hollywood in general. Like I understand you got to make money, you got to do all this stuff, you got to get the stock price up, whatever. But you got to have people in there that care. And the sequels just felt like slaps in the face to the fans, and then Mando season 1 is like, this is what Star Wars is, man. You know what I mean? And
Totally.
we got to get some people in there that care, and I feel like Dave. His entire purpose of staying there is to protect the legacy that George created. So,
no, that's profound. That's exactly, I think, the sentiment with most fans when reading that was, oh, thank God. It's him and whoever else it could have been. I don't know, but thank God it's him. And I do kind of go back to that bit from Freddie Prinze again, where he says, I learned from him, but he learned straight from George's mouth. I remember being a kid watching those documentary type things on the extras on the VCR tapes, right? Right at the end, you play them all the way through to the end, and then you get to watch these bonus features. And I remember on Empire Strikes Back, I was just listening to him and what he was kind of going through with the story and bringing, and this is the old wizard returns in his vision and leads him still, and all these things. The story I was captivated just by listening to George talk about Star Wars. So, what were those meetings like, right? Where Filoni is like with a cup of coffee, it's like, look, tell me about Star Wars. And then they go on for 4 hours and talk about Star Wars. I just would love to be a fly on the wall.
A big thing, I think, when they were developing like the Clone Wars was like, George was like, Anakin has a Padawan. And Filoni's like, no, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't have a Padawan. George is like, he has a Padawan, and Dave's like, okay, I guess I gotta make a Padawan for Anakin, And it's just like, I don't get that anymore. I watched probably the Revenge of the Sith featurette with George commentary probably 100 times on the DVD. It's just, it's his baby, and he saw it through to the end. I think he still made the right decision. You can't fault him for wanting to spend time with his family and raise his daughter and just get it off, make your money. But it would have been nice. Yeah, I think it was 3 or 4. It's unfortunate that what came after, and kind of his treatment throughout all that with his screenplays they could have used. And
So, two more things within the news world I want to talk about still within this. Do you feel this is the first question? Do you feel that this move is out of desperation, or do you feel this is a visionary move?
oh, this is complete desperation.
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 Go ahead. Whoever who started talking there.
Now you go, Zane.
Oh, this is totally a desperation move. I mean, as we've seen already.
Well deserved. Well deserved.
Yes, not taking nothing away from Dave for sure.
Okay,
no.
Okay. I want to establish that.
Yeah, no.
Filoni deserves this, but from Disney's standpoint, this is a desperate move because we have already seen that a lot of Star Wars projects, although are doing pretty well with the fans, it still isn't hitting with the main media market. And so I think having someone like Filoni, which a lot of fans like, will produce a lot more word of mouth, whatever, where a lot more people are going to be excited for this, which leads other people to wanting to watch it who haven't really watched Star Wars, stuff like that. That's my kind of thinking of what they're doing with this.
Okay.
My take is I feel like a lot of people, I mean, if Dave can't do it and they don't let Dave do it, then probably nobody's going to be able to do it. I think that's kind of the sentiment, at least in how I feel and kind of the people I talk about it with. And I mean, I think Disney as a whole company's feeling the heat, and they're just going to start throwing darts at a wall and just hope something just sticks. And because I mean, I couldn't imagine paying $4 billion for something and handling it as terrible as they have handled it. I mean,
it's almost as if the mouse was trying to kill it.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, what's his name? I don't know. Disney CEO, the guy that came back who nobody likes, Bob Iger, rents out a whole theme park, and it's just selling George, like, just give it to me. We're gonna use your projects, give it to me. And then I mean, it was a pure business move. I mean, people that have done business in the business world, I mean, it's kind of scummy, but that's just kind of the way business is handled. But they're feeling the heat all around, and I mean, their pockets are hurting, and they're going to do whatever they can to get Star Wars back on the map. Because I remember when that trailer for Force Awakens came out, and I was like, I thought I could jump to the moon. I was like, this is the Star Wars is back, baby.
More content.
And I left Force Awakens, and I was like, I don't know where they're going to go with this, but I'm super excited. And The Last Jedi and the opening crawl of The Rise of Skywalker was just, it was painful. It was just only saw them once. I have not rewatched either of them since I saw them in theaters.
Interesting.
That is some dedication to a feeling right there, Cam.
I rewatched Clone Wars, Rebels with Josiah and my wife, and rewatched all the main films, Rogue One, Solo, everything. And I'm like, I didn't even want to touch Force Awakens. I'm like, I just can't have that hope because I know what comes after, and I just don't want to be disappointed again.
Oh my goodness. I think the last question piece here. What might be your biggest fear with this move? And I'll start because I'm scared to death they're going to make him more of a managerial. His title insinuates, he's controlling creativity, but more managerial than creativity. That's my fear. He's not going to be allowed to create in the way he has been. Zane, do you have any fears with this move too?
My fear is that they're just moving him up to make him more of a figurehead.
Like you were saying.
So that once anything happens, it's like, it's Filoni's fault. Y'all wanted him.
Oh yeah, he's the fall guy for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's my fear. Because I don't want him to be the fall guy.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to they got to get us back in theaters. I mean,
Mhm.
don't give us the Obi-Wan budget and all that. I mean, because especially when you have people that are like people want to be a part of Star Wars. Every mid to high tier actor or actress, if you ask them, would want to be in a Star Wars project.
Absolutely.
And they just gotta give us something good. I think Tony Gilroy, the guy that did Andor,
Mhm.
I mean, Andor was all right. I mean, it was okay. I kind of want to rewatch it again to kind of give. I feel like I was in a bad place with my Star Wars fandom at the time. That I didn't really want to give it a chance because Obi-Wan kind of just
Mm.
had its moments, but as a whole, just they can't lie and say Dave had any input on that project because the whole Leia sequence just makes A New Hope like. Anyways,
Yeah.
but I feel like they got to get us back in theaters. They got to give us because one thing about the sequels, they're beautiful. The Last Jedi is probably the most beautiful out of the three, and they got to get us back in the seats. But I feel like Dave's just going to be the fall guy when Kathleen does what she
What
wants.
Kathleen
So
does.
yeah, when Kathleen does
He
what
does best.
Kathleen wants. So
Yep. Yeah, I thank you guys for your thoughts on this. I mean, this is a big deal in the world of. It's not as big as when it's sold, but it's pretty damn big. And thanks for chatting about it for a little bit. We'll continue to talk as this stuff develops.
Oh, yeah.
Week over week. Yep. What Kathy wants, Kathy gets. Yeah.
it stops
Even
with
if
her.
it's a double choco moco latte. All right. So let's move on over to. Oh, I gotta do one of these. I missed one earlier. Transition. Where's my transitions? What is this one? Korriban deep
Dive.
dive.
Deep
Let's
dive.
Oh, let's try this. That's the outro. Hold
We're
up.
back again.
But I swear. I don't. It's not here. I don't know
The
where.
Dark Side Deep Dive with Dr. Dana.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, that one. That one's not there. Okay. Never a dull merriment.
For a dull moment.
All right. So we're not gonna transition that, but I will change the text because if I don't do that, oh my gosh, it's not working either. Here we go. Y'all see that? Whoop. All right.
Oh yeah.
Oh yay.
Clean.
Tech support.
go.
Yay. Oh, it was worth a shot, Josiah. Thank you. I'm a little rusty after being off for a couple weeks. So.
Yeah. Been out of the game for a minute.
Let's move into the deep dive for a little bit. So one of my favorite characters in the expanded universe is Darth Krayt. He has touched the Clone Wars. He has touched on the other side with the Zhang War. He has been around a long time. And we'll talk a little bit about stasis and things to keep him alive later. But started out as a Jedi, ended as one of the most profound Sith Lords. And what made him profound was the change from the rule of two to the one Sith Brotherhood. If you know about why this is important, and we've talked a little bit about Bane in the past, and why the rule of two had to exist essentially for Anakin to be created, for the balanced piece, it helped control those urges of just chaos that happens over and over again within the Sith orgs, and I think pulling out of the rule of two showed the amount of force the Sith Empire could be. So all that being said, let's start with his humble beginnings. Just a humble sand people person being trained by his dad. What?
Aww.
Yeah. So his dad was a Jedi. Was one of the sand people. Lived with the sand people. He also trained up his. Wait, what? Father? Oh yeah, that's a whole nother thing. Yeah, he had
Jedi
kids.
can have attachments.
No,
I
no.
didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah,
Unless you're
no,
Mace Windu, you can just make your
unless
own
you're
rules.
Mace had a harem. What are you talking about? I've seen that movie. No, yeah, I want to talk about starting off from being in the Sand People. What I mean, I believe that's going to be significant in anyone's life if you're raised in that manner, right? Much like Mandalorians, you aren't to remove your headdress. I mean, what are some things about the Sand People that you think can carry over into strengthening and creating the Jedi to be Sith? Darth Krayt. I mean, the Sand People had what? The gaffy stick, right? Why was the gaffy stick important? Why was it that they kept their faces hidden? And oh, did we even know they were human underneath? I think a lot of us growing up never even knew that.
Thought they were creatures, just weird,
Just dirty
creatures.
creatures. And when Anakin killed them, I think that was a humanization of them when he said, "I killed the women and children." I had never even considered the fact that there were potentially women and children Sand People. So why am I prefacing that piece? Because we know that Anakin killed all those Sand People. We know that Hett, the Jedi who became Darth Krayt, lived amongst the Sand People and was one of them. And there is a moment where the two, Anakin and Hett, actually meet and talk about what happened. And Hett keeps that a secret. So tell me about maybe something within that piece of the story that might resonate with you, where you're really close to someone, you know something kind of icky or bad, and you got to maybe live with that secret of someone else. And I mean, I can start. I had a friend growing up. He's no longer alive or whatnot, but did something very terrible, and told me about it. Never told anyone else, and I had to live with knowing this piece of information. Ultimately, this individual killed themselves, and then I have to ask, well, was that? Did I? What the? So that's kind of the example of what I'm talking about, where you may know something or seen something, and you've chosen to not say anything about it. You don't have to give me the example, but kind of talk through how that makes you feel. That's where I'm getting at with Hett here.
I think it doesn't really kind of set in until you realize, kind of like what you were saying with your friend, till you know the outcome. I think with Krayt, it was kind of like when he finds out who Vader is and the Jedi fall and all those type of things. He's like, I literally could have stopped it all if I had just told the council. You know what I mean? And had just told somebody to get him expelled from the order. And I would argue some things might still fall into some way as they may, which it might make Palpatine easier to manipulate Anakin if he's expelled from the order. But I mean, I think when you have those type of moments with friends, family, or whatever, I mean, really doesn't really set in until the outcome, I feel like, or something just traumatic almost happens to you.
Yeah, that's got to be tough. You'd have to think that there was an absorbent amount of responsibility he felt because of that. We lost Cam. That's okay. But Zane, I mean, you're in college. I'm sure you've seen something. You know what I'm getting at, though.
Yeah, honestly, it doesn't apply as much to Krayt, but it almost changes your view of that person entirely. To the
Oh.
point of, if it's one person but you're in a giant group of friends, let's say, you almost see the different, almost like it's a different personality.
Mm.
And you know their secrets, they know you know, but they act like they've never done no evil. And but you know what I mean? And I think it's that thought almost tears you up as well. Is that you know what they are, and you can't say anything about it. Well, you could, but why?
Mhm.
And you really don't see it, obviously, though, until the outcome, whenever you really are like, I should have said something about this, just purely because it I don't know. I think it's almost that tension. You don't want, most of these people are in some way, in some shape or form, have some sort of power over you. I don't know how to explain that well, but in this case with Krayt, he or Het at the time, it was literally, he knew what Anakin did, but instead of choosing to, you know, give up his secret, he fully was like, trust me, here's my secret, this is what I look like, I'm human on the inside too. And because of that, it almost gave Anakin more power over him. He knew what Anakin was capable of, and I think he might have been able to stop it. But I think just because he knew Anakin and what he was capable of, maybe even just for the Order entirely, he had to weigh his options and say, I hate this. This is how it's going to have to be, though. And so, yeah.
Because I mean, the time they're in, like just the war, like the Clone Wars going on, it's like, I mean, and it's no secret that Anakin is the chosen one in the view of everyone in the Jedi Order, and so it's like, and I mean, and he's the one that ultimately ends the Clone Wars, and I agree with Zane too. That's a take.
Yeah, and I like that point you make too. When you're in a group of people and you look over and you know that dude's secret, and they know that you know, but they act like you don't know, or that they don't know that you know. Um, I know, hypocritical is not the right word. Two-faced. I don't know what the right word is for that, but that is dirty and that is painful to hold. I I know that it's painful that I have to hold whatever I got to hold on the rest of my life. Don't let it have power over me, blah, blah, blah. But just that thought. And if, this wasn't in the Clone Wars, this wasn't fighting alongside, this wasn't the story of the Chosen One, the prophecy of the Chosen One. So certainly not on that grand scale. So within that grand scale, I would have to think that Het at some point has to question everything if the Chosen One really went off and slaughtered some folks and nobody knows about it, which it clearly Anakin was destroyed over. That one thing hurt him more than he would ever, I think, let on to know. He told Het about it, he told Padme about it, and he told Palpatine about it. That's all that knew about it. But he still told 3 people. Why? Because it was killing him on the inside, man. So I think, likewise, I think it was a piece of the darkness that was already festering in Het. He lost his dad. Het lost his father to Aurora Singh, the bounty hunter, killed him. So he's already got that piece of darkness. And now he's got this other darkness he's got to live with, knowing the secret of Anakin Skywalker and how he's freaking crazy. So he goes off, right? Fast forward. He goes off to the unknown regions and is captured by the Yuzhong Bong. And the Yuzhong Bong they are not force sensitive. It's actually a void of the presence of the force. If you read those books, super crazy, weird stuff. But he became kind of a guinea pig of sorts. They would everything that they had, the Yuzhongbang, was biological. So it was technical, but it was also biological. So your armor was grown, right? It was plasteel, whatever. No, it was like grown bone type stuff. So they were fusing things into him and torturing him, which we all know torture leads to the dark side. But using those things as his power. So what I want to kind of focus on for this piece, of course, because Dr. Dana, those bits that were getting forced onto him from his environment changed him fundamentally. His environment fundamentally changed him. Thinking about that, how do you protect yourself from your environment fundamentally changing you? Your environment's going to move you in some form or fashion, but to fundamentally change who you are, how do we prevent that from happening? I know that's way deep.
Mega deep.
I can start. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. That's why I'm asking. I think we know those things that are bigger, grander, that will have a bigger impact on us. When those things happen, things like death, things like sickness, things like cancer, how do we deal with those in ways that they won't fundamentally change us for bad, right? I mean, we always gain perspective in times of grief and death and whatnot. So that's a good thing that can come from those things. How do we protect ourselves from those things that are bigger? How do we keep them from taking over? I know we were just having all that fun with Dave Filoni.
No, I mean, I'm thinking of a take. I feel like I got a take, but I don't know if it ties in. But
no right
I mean,
or wrong.
like, I mean, I feel like in terms of death, grief, and those type of, I think it's just about who you have around you in a way. And I feel like when you're in galactic war, I mean, think about like our prisoners of war, you know, Americans that are overseas and those type of things. And I mean, if you're stuck in this hell almost, the cycle of torture, physical, mental, I mean, just all those type of things. I mean, and you don't get an escape from it, right? Like, I mean, if a loved one passes, like, hey, you got to take it in, but eventually I got to go back to work, or I got to go to something, or I got to go out with friend. I mean, something. I mean, eventually life kind of goes on, but I feel like when you're in these type of environments where there is no life outside of that environment, there kind of is. I mean, it makes you feel more appreciative, right, of your current situation and the fact that you have ways to escape, and kind of you have a form of privilege that a lot of people, for better or worse, don't get that option to, you know. And I think that that was the thing. And I mean, I'm eventually going to get to those books, and I can't wait to deep dive into them. But like with what I've read about the Yuzhong Vong, I mean, you just that like them not having the Force wasn't what made them so lethal, right? And for them to turn Jason Solo and and Darth Krayt and those type of things, you know what I mean? It was I mean, eventually, I feel like everyone has their breaking point, and how long it takes you to get there is different from everybody. But when you don't get an escape from your environment, it's kind of hard to not have your environment break you.
Yeah. See?
I'm going to tag along to that environment thing and talk about what you surround yourself with. The biggest example I can find of it not working is with Anakin Skywalker. He killed her. His mom died in front of him, right? And he went through a lot of grief. He massacred an entire village. Yes, The worst part, though, was what happened right after his mom died. He didn't go and meditate and just take his time at the Jedi Temple. He didn't go off and just spend time in the wilderness. He went to Geonosis and was thrown into the beginning of a galactic war. So instead of having the time and the energy to separate himself from everything that's going on to mostly deal with his more mental type of stress, he was thrown into this giant war and never had the true he never truly got over it. And because of that, I think that really shows that when you don't separate yourself from whatever environment you are to work on yourself and to kind of work through those pains, you're not gonna get you're not gonna get better, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you don't want if you are talking about not wanting to fundamentally change, I think staying yourself and or staying with the consistent schedule you have been with, or overflowing your schedule, only leads to making your life worse when those fundamentally changing things will happen. In order to protect yourself, you really do, like he said, take a step away, get some space, and truly escape for a bit.
Yeah. And Hett didn't have that chance either.
Mm-hmm.
And to this talking about with, so Hett had the armor and whatnot, and these bits grafted to him. So as a constant reminder and pain that he would receive as those things continued to grow through him. So we too, right, have the scars that remain. But are they festering infections, or are they just an old scar like this tattoo, right? It hurt a little bit, it was great. It's a memory, and it changed a little who I was, but it didn't fundamentally change who I was. I think those things are what separate us from success in our lives, professionally too, but personally. That growth piece of constantly needing to go back and look, make a tweak, make a change, so that if we're fundamentally changing, we're doing it at our pace as we need to grow continually, and not being forced into a situation like Anakin when he wasn't ready, like Hett, Jason. The list goes on in the Star Wars universe, but it also goes on for us too. So what do we do with those, right? Darth Krayt, used them, became Darth Krayt. He was going for the old Krayt dragon from his home planet of Tatooine. We also know there's a bit where he was, before all of that, was banished from Tatooine by Obi-Wan Kenobi. And that's a nice little piece of story too. We don't have time for it tonight, but yeah. So let's move to the one Sith Order. Just because you have a lot more doesn't always necessarily mean that's better. But in the time, he survived Order 66. He went through all of that other stuff. He saw both sides. He walked the line for a while. So now he's like full on F it all. I'm Darth Krayt. Like, first of all, it's a badass name. So as Darth Krayt and changing the rule of two, why do you feel he needed to change, or did he need to change the rule of two into the one Sith Order? What's y'all's take? Awesome. So what?
I mean, I was gonna let Zane go, but
I was gonna let you go.
Oh my gosh!
I'm gonna start calling people.
All right, it's like class. It's like class all over again.
It's like class. Put you on the spot.
I mean, don't you feel like at a certain root of it all, maybe Krayt felt like I want to. Eventually, he kind of feels like I want to create my own order, right? Create my own sort of Jedi order, and but in a different way. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And at the end of the day, he just wants to destroy the new Jedi Order, and obviously he's fighting against Skywalkers,
Ugh.
and there's that component to it. You know what I mean? And I mean, it's just the one Sith Order's cool, and I feel like maybe with I don't know. I just don't think there's ever an environment where I feel like Bane had it correct in a way. I just don't feel like there's
Mhm.
an environment where multiple Sith can survive as the Force grows and new people being strong in the Force and those type of things. So
Some of the deadliest wars in the Star Wars universe were the Jedi Civil Wars, the Mandalorian wars with Jedi and Sith. Like, just every time there's a whole clump of these Force users, something bad happens and people die. Um, the One Sith Order, One Sith Brotherhood was really cool because I mean, then it's not just like, ooh, pick me, I want to be your apprentice, or I stuck just being an Inquisitor. No, you're full on, man, full on, but with rank and title, or what have you. I'd totally be down with that too. Our side gig writing that I used to do, role play, shout out to the old Sith Dominion, which is where all this came from in my mind. Used to be an RP board. The new Sith Brotherhood is what they're called now, and you can go check them out. They have the RP stuff in forum format where you're continuing on stories. It's super fun. Shout out to my boys. But in that world, in that universe, I think about was it Darth Malgus, right? Where he crashes into, was that Malgus that crashed into Coruscant with all the Sith behind him and it all lights up? Oh my God. Are you, like, yes, Vader struck terror into the heart. But that scene, I had never seen anything like that before in my life. And if I wasn't already loving Darkseid, I was all in. That was so cool, all them red lightsabers lighting up. So, man, we're gonna move on to the next little bit here. I just released an article today, shameless plug, about the Acolyte. Are you all familiar with the Acolyte?
sadly,
Sadly, not looking forward to it. Well, I wanted to see what we don't know a whole lot.
I want it to be good.
We know, yeah, me too. Clearly, by my article, I really am hoping this is good. I'm putting out the positive vibes and manifesting that. Hopefully, they'll listen. The Acolyte. So, if you don't know, it is set in the High Republic about 100 years before all the events of Phantom Menace. And the main protagonist is a female, and she is they're not saying Sith Acolyte. I don't know if they will say Sith Acolyte, but that's what I always knew them as Sith Acolytes. But certainly a dark side wielder. And we're not entirely sure what all is going to happen. We just know it's going to be dark side and female focused, which it seems to be a pattern at Disney, which is a whole nother episode of what are you guys doing? But what I am looking forward to, and now that we at least know the premise, more dark side. I mean, who didn't like Reva? I liked Reva. You didn't like Reva? She was a little whiny, but but outside of that, I didn't mind her too much. What was it, Cam, that you didn't like about Reva?
Well,
Where do I begin?
yeah, I mean, I think that it was the fact that she knows the twins are out there and she's her story was cool. Like as it's progressing, I'm like, oh my gosh, I literally know where they're going with this.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the perfect end to Riva was when she's fighting Vader on whatever that planet is, and he's got the lightsaber and she's on her knees, like just slice her head off like he did with Dooku. And
Yep.
it's such a cool drawback to the prequels and a good end to her story. I feel like, I mean, her story, she just felt just in there, and they didn't really know what to really do with her. And
Mhm.
again, it has nothing to do with the actress, has nothing to do with those. I just don't think that they just kind of threw her in there as like here's she's the third sister, right? Yeah, third sister. And she has this ultimate goal to kill Vader, right? Because somehow she knows he's Anakin, but they don't really ever really explain that unless I'm missing something.
Who's in the
And it's just like she just doesn't make any sense to me. Like
You
second
feel like maybe she was shoehorned into the show?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the Obi-Wan film that they were going to make, I know she was a character in that, and she had a better storyline within that.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, she was just another unfortunate actress and actor that's just shoehorned into a project and not really given a whole lot to work with, and then people take it and run with it, and they just don't like her. I just don't like how she survives like 3 lightsaber
I
stabs,
know.
and
That was a little.
the in confrontation with Kenobi, and it's just like, personally, Ben Kenobi from the prequels or the sequels, I think would kill Riva in that sense on Tatooine. Personally, after his confrontation with Vader, one, I think he should have killed Vader in the last fight, which I could also talk about too. But it's just like she's just out there, and she didn't receive any medical attention, and just lives on hate and goes to Tatooine and finds out Vader has a kid, and well, it's just whatever. You know what I mean? I was never a fan of her character, and I felt bad for the actress for all she went through, but it still doesn't mean that her character wasn't kind of just in there. So I love the second sister.
I was about to ask. So you
Yeah.
follow up to that. Second sister, you just played through, you said again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or just played through Jedi Survivor?
Played through Fallen Order. I'm
Fallen
in
Order.
progress of Survivor right now.
So you're digging, or you like the second sister story arc?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I for the most part like all the Inquisitor arc. I feel like Reeve as a character probably can be. All the Inquisitors can be good characters given good storylines. I mean, I just played through the first part of Survivor, and I feel like the Ninth Sisters. Spoilers if you haven't played the game. Night Sister's death in it, when Cal just like strikes her down, and I'm just like, whoa, how did we get here? You know what I'm saying? I don't think Cal would do that, and you actually think he's about to let her live, and just nope, whop. But I mean, you also just spend an entire game killing everyone in your path, so I guess there's that too.
This is true.
I think Riva, given the opportunity, it's a shame that she wasn't given the opportunity to be a good character, and she's not going to get the opportunity to be a good character, unless in a comic book or something. They might have done that, but I'm not too familiar.
Give me some more in the comic. Zane? Either or, Riva or...
Wait, what was the original thing on?
Riva was the... like, your thoughts, having the female... This is the first time that it'll be anchored, like the whole series is anchored by a dark side female protagonist. But we've had them throughout the other series, like Riva and second sister. Can't remember her name.
The thing that scares me on this is that they're going to be making this whole series of a dark side character, but humanizing her in a way that almost makes you feel for her, which is fine to some degrees. I just feel like when you're talking dark side, when you humanize these characters a lot more, you start making them seem less cool in certain ways and more relatable, less complicated, less for you to reach for. I think it scares me to have this. I wouldn't even care if it was a woman lead, but I mean, it depends on what they do with it. If they go more of a second sister route, which would be a lot better. I think second sister just felt more. You could feel a lot more the anger, and she still felt like she could have been a protagonist, but she still had that overarching like I'm still the bad guy. And I think that's kind of what I really need to look for and really want. I think I had the same feeling for Boba Fett whenever that series came out. It really made him feel a lot more like a good guy than I wanted. Because, when Boba Fett was first there, it was like, who's this guy? The best bounty hunter in the galaxy? What? Yeah. So I'm really scared because if they go to a Reva sort of point of view, the entire Obi-Wan series, I felt bad for her almost. Yeah. I felt really like I was caring for her more than I should be caring for a dark side individual. And as much as I love this is the dark side podcast, when you have characters like Reva, they aren't as exciting to a viewer per se. I think you look at Krayt, someone who has gone through all of this torment and stuff, but you can find similarities and kind of latch on to his character. However, the things that happen to him are so to the extreme and so to the more exciting sort of nature that makes his story stick into the minds of people who have read about him. And so when it comes to the Acolyte, having it be just this dark side female character lead, it really scares me to see if they're going to make me feel bad about her.
No, I totally get what you're saying.
I just want to watch some dark side character just massacre people. And I think that's what I've been missing from Star Wars.
The complexity of the characters in like Revan, right? Huge. I love it. It is very complex. It is very Anakin, very complex. Ben, so very complex. I'm fine with the complexity. I'm fine with the complexity. What I'm not fine with is a pattern, and like you said, you have to have an amount of fear, an amount of this guy, like you're not supposed to like Darth Vader. I mean, and you don't. And it wasn't until Return of the Jedi that I fell in love with Darth Vader, right? Whatever, you know what I mean. So in the same vein, the Reva character did not make me fall in love with her. The second sister was a great story, great development. I loved it. So I hear what you're saying, and I think that's what you're kind of getting at as well. And Cam, sorry, I think you were about to say something.
Yeah, I feel like from things that I've heard, like at Celebration with people that are tied to the show, I don't think they understand the rules, right? They don't understand Star Wars, right? I think that there's nothing wrong with female leads. Clearly George was going to do it. So and female leads, Kill Bill. There's been plenty of female leads in movies that
Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia was a lead. She freaking led the Alliance. So yes. Sorry.
Yeah. We are, as a fan base, not against, I would hope to believe, female leads and characters. We're against poorly written characters, whether they be male or female. That's why when you mentioned Ben Solo, I'm like, I don't really know what you're talking about. I don't feel the confliction personally. I hadn't read a comic or anything, so I've only seen the movie once. But it's just these actresses and these writers, like, how do you have a guy writing the Kenobi show that has never seen Revenge of the Sith?
That's
and they put these people in these places and they don't understand the story. They're not passionate about the story. They want to tell their own story, but have the Star Wars name on it, aka Last Jedi. Because I'm sure I've heard Rian Johnson's other films are fantastic. I will not see them. Will not pay any money to support a project he does. So, but it's just like they don't understand the rules that have been set.
Mhm.
Like you said, like we're as a kid, like in Empire, I look at my stepdad when Vader's like, "I am your father," and I'm like, "How is this man in a black suit talks like he's really scary? This guy's dad? How is that?" And then and I'm watching the prequels as a kid, and I'm like, "How is he? How is this kid on Tatooine getting turned to this guy?" And then Attack of the Clones, I'm like, "Oh, I could see it, maybe." And then like last half of Revenge of the Sith, and you're just like, "Oh my gosh," you know. But I mean, you do feel bad for him, right? And like
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with feeling bad for a dark side. It just has to make sense.
The tragedy of Darth Vader, right?
Darth Plagueis.
The tragedy of Anakin Skywalker.
Oh, you mean what the whole main story is about? Somebody should remind Lucasfilm of that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm glad though that you make a good point. And I think a good segue from here is with Filoni and what he's been able to do so far with our hopes and dreams, keeping them alive, and what hopefully he'll do moving forward.
Oh,
I think we have someone at least in place, figurehead, that I think will appease the fan base for now. But I really believe that a lot is hinging on that, and I do allude to that in my article as well. There's a lot hinging on the Acolyte. There's a lot of CGI. There's a lot of investment in that. The Rey movie, again, I think it was put on hold. I'm not sure how to verify that. And read my article, Cam, if you haven't.
I've read it twice.
Yeah, the Toxic Fandom one. Oh, God. And I love Daisy Ridley. That's the problem, right?
Yeah.
Bad writing and yeah, Finn, terribly written. Finn was
much.
This is so like when I saw him, the scene with him and Poe in the SF TIE Fighter, I was like, this is amazing. I'm loving it. Who are you? FN, we're gonna call you Finn. Let's go. Oh my God, we're gonna like. It was exciting. It was the Millennium Falcon and Luke and the don't get cocky. It was all that, but not. It was all that, but not. And it was still fun. And it made me feel like I did when I was a kid. And the last bit here about the Acolyte, it's not going to be apparently like it was when we were kids. PG-13-ish in that vein, like the third in the prequels. I just drew a blank. Your favorite one, Cam? Revenge of the Sith. Sorry, right? Revenge of the Sith. What was the third one?
You said third of the prequels? Yeah, Revenge of the Sith. Yeah.
So Revenge of the Sith gives you that that feeling, but also the darkness of it, the adult themes of it, puts it in a more late tween teen into adulthood category as opposed to the fuzzy bears running around that you could kick in Return of the Jedi. What are your thoughts? This is kind of our closing out on the Acolyte being geared more towards that demographic.
And it's where in that time when you're dealing with the complexity of the Sith, there should be that. I rewatched I was watching some clips the other day. Like I always go watch just clips from Revenge of the Sith, all the films, and I watched the one where Anakin's sitting in the council chambers waiting for Mace to come back, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Padme's sitting in their house or their apartment or whatever. And there's no words for like 2.5 minutes, just dark, ominous music, and you almost think like, holy crap, is Padme force sensitive? Like she's looking like at him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where everything turns. Like I don't think it's when Palpatine tells Anakin or when he finally becomes Darth Vader. It's that moment, because the whole series hinges on that moment.
Yeah.
Still, I'll watch the film and I'm like, please, just wait, please, wait, please. You get to raise Luke and Leia to be the strongest Force users of all time. Everybody lives happily ever after. But it's that, and I feel like that tone of Star Wars when you're dealing with the Sith, and you can't tell us that, and then we get And I love Return of the Jedi, but we can't get Ewoks. We can't. I mean, there's just nothing. There's nothing happy about. There's nothing happy and go lovey about the Sith. There's
No.
nothing. Nothing. There's nothing. And
No.
hopefully they get that. And I want it to be good. I know I hate on Lucasfilm and stuff sometimes, and especially more of this podcast than I probably ever have. But I want it to be. I want it to be good more than anything else, because I think, and I love that people love the sequels, and I love that makes them love Star Wars, and that it, kids are growing up and it's making them feel what I felt when I was a kid. But it's gotta be good. Like, this one it's got to be Game of Thrones ish level for app breaking Disney Plus.
We'll see. Hopefully, with Filoni at the helm of chief creative officer, or what have you, then it'll be better. Guys, thank you. This was super fun. Kat, we missed your input tonight for sure. We had to fill some time. There was some dead air that you absolutely would have jumped in on. But no, thank you guys so much. This is super fun. So what do we got going on at Geek News Now? Well, still pumping out some articles. We also have our shows. MCU Mondays just passed. I don't remember what they're working on, but I just finished Loki and it was insane. It was really good. I know they've been talking about that. There was tomorrow is Thursday. No, nothing tomorrow.
Wednesday.
What's Thursday? Solid
Thanksgiving.
episode. Oh,
Thanksgiving.
Why, thank you, Josiah. Seriously.
Thanks.
Oh, I would agree. This is one of the better. Well, I can't say best because I don't think you've seen all the episodes, Josiah.
You have to go back and watch first.
But definitely the first one. Terrible. Don't watch that one. Not because of Zane, but because of me. Especially how I ended that episode. That was really terrible. I don't end that way anymore. So we've got Thursday. I don't think there'll be a show. And if anyone's on from Geek News Now, please let me know. But I think Thursday's off. But Saturday, I think they'll be back with Geek Gauntlet. And then Sunday, we have War of Stars, and then Monday MCU Mondays, and then Tuesday it's us again. Next week we will have a show. We're going to be talking about Darth Talon.
Let's go.
Oh, let's go. So very interesting character, lots of fan stuff, and I think because she's a Sith Twi'lek, and it's very cool.
Aren't Thursdays Cantina Happy Hour?
Yes, thank you. Cantina Happy Hour Thursdays. Look at this. You're like an honorary member, Zane. You've been in 10 shows now. No, you've been in 11 shows. This is your 11th show, I think. Good on you, man. Cam, you're starting to rack up a few loyalty points as well. So
I love being here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So yeah, next week we'll be talking about Darth Talon. After that, I actually will be on hiatus again. I will hopefully have some time to do some TikToks that Tuesday night. Do some TikToks. What the heck? I'm you kids. TikToks. I'll do a TikTok live that night for a little while. Like I did at the beach the night before when I was there that one week. So that was super fun. I'll do that again too. We talked a lot about sand and Anakin because we were at the beach.
Sand.
So awesome. So yeah, check us out. Check out our partners. We have links to all of that always. And hey, thanks again, Cameron, and thanks again, Zane.
Sure. Thank you.
You guys take it easy. Remember, kids, peace is a lie. There's only passion. Good night.